Far to the north, the Norse traditions inspired the omnipotent Odin, father of the gods. In battle, he sat atop his 8-legged steed Sleipnir and wielded the mighty lance Gungnir. On the day of Ragnarok, the inevitable end of creation, the world would be torn apart by the great wolves Fenrir and Garm. Odin was fated to be devoured by Fenrir, who would be in turn slain by Odin's son. These are the basics when building a Final Fantasy RPG, but these quest ingredients typically only make up about 60% of the hours and hours fans are willing to invest in each game. The other 40% is filled with side stories, mini-games, and various added bonuses that are extra diversions for some players, but required material to others. When available, you could wager your weapons and your life in the Colosseum, become a bounty hunter of rare monsters, recruit additional party members, engage in a heated magic card confrontation, carve up a mountain, go for the goal inside a giant fishbowl, and much more. The story often set up these distractions, leaving the option open to unlock a rare treasure once the mode was mastered. All this is what it means to be Final Fantasy, but that's not to say multiple other role-playing franchises don't follow the same rules. As the magnitude of each adventure's time commitment and sales demonstrate, success requires one last crucial element: a brilliant creative staff. Hironobu Sakaguchi, despite doubts and disbelievers, was the mind that started it all. He directed the first 5 games in the series and produced the 7 installments after. Following 9, which he considered to be the finest example of what a Final Fantasy game should be, he founded Mistwalker Studios with Microsoft and officially left Square in 2003. It's difficult to accurately pinpoint specific details he's brought to the franchise over the years, outside of his leading roles, but obviously, Final Fantasy wouldn't exist without him. Nobuo Uematsu's influence cannot be understated. In his relationship with Square, he's composed over 600 tracks for Final Fantasy games, and that's just considering the core series. Over 50 of those have been character-specific themes. He started a music production company in 2004 called Smile Please, and has played keyboard for his FF-inspired metal band, the Black Mages, in at least 8 separate concert appearances and 2 albums. Although his primary focus now lies on Mistwalker projects, he contributes title anthems for Final Fantasy, and several songs he wrote 20 years ago are still irreversibly linked to the franchise. Yoshitaka Amano's illustrations, despite even today's standards of digital animation, are almost impossible to recreate in 3 dimensions, while still maintaining the original's intricate accents. His hand has stayed in the series from the very beginning, despite not designing characters for one of its games since 2001. He continues doing image illustration, logo design, and additional promotional artwork. When creative expression called for technical ingenuity, no single person has developed more systems for the series than Hiroyuki Ito. After sound designing and debugging the first 3 games, he formed Active Time Battles in 4, Jobs in 5, Espers in 6, and Junctioning in 8. He directed Final Fantasy IX and co-directed both 6 and 12. From advancement methods to combat pacing to party skill sets, Ito's code work stands as the foundation of each fantasy. Hundreds of creative minds have converged on the 12 core titles, but these 4 fantasy founders drew the blueprints that all others have followed. Final Fantasy V was the last game where they filled all of their original roles, but their inspirations will flourish in the sequels and spin-offs to come. They may not be the people behind the latest entries, but the franchise still has a bright future thanks to their legacy. Final Fantasy XIII is to be split into a 3-part series called Fabula Nova Crystallis that will include the 12th sequel and verses for the PS3, along with the Jito for mobile phones. Details at this point are vague, to say the least. While no remakes other than Final Fantasy IV DS are currently planned, a reunion brawler called Dissidia is coming to the PSP to pit the series' finest against each other, and end many popular fan debates once and for all. Looking back at 20 fantasy-filled years, it's a challenge not to marvel at the work put forth by Square and its eventual partner, Enix. Excluding ports and remakes, 27 games have been created that carry the brand, a library that can only be rivaled by Mario, Mega Man, and other pillars of gaming. As the franchise enters a third decade of development, its ultimate direction is unclear. The only thing final in Final Fantasy is its past. Sakaguchi's Hail Mary began with an orb, gathered light through a crystal, and will know no end as long as it lives in the hearts and minds of players around the world.